What's up, everybody? This is Connor and Joshua with Chamber One Tactical. Today we have the awesome Beretta M9A4. This is probably one of the cooler guns that I've got, just because it's FDE and it's like
That's what makes a gun cool.
3 or 4 different colors of FDE. But it is a very
You need
cool.
a scar to match it.
It's a very cool gun. It's a very different shooting gun, is what we found after doing the review. So, very glad we could do this review for you guys. So let's get into it. All right, so the first thing we want to start out on the gun itself is the price point, which, we like to start off with first, because that is kind of either a turn on or a turn off for someone looking at a gun. So This one came in right at, I believe it was $10.99, and I have seen them on Gun.Deals and other websites now for less than $1,000. So by the time you ordered it and everything, you're probably sitting at $1,000. So I don't think it's a bad price for this gun. I think this gun is worth that. There are other people that have mixed opinions on that, but I think you're getting a pretty good value with this gun sitting at that $1,000. So this one is the Centurion model, so it is a little bit shorter than the standard, the full size. And don't make fun of me too much. Joshua kills me on this all the time. I did somehow order the 15-round magazines with this gun. So when we went to order it, I didn't notice that they were the 15-round, and you guys can see they're pressed in or whatever right there. Man. I know. I'm sorry. I feel like a liberal, but they're pressed in at the bottom, so you can only fit your. I bet you could probably bend that out or something, but that's for another day. But it is a Centurion model, which I actually liked. I like that it's a little shorter. You can carry this gun because it is actually pretty light for a full-size gun. But moving on to the first thing about the actual gun is the sights. I was very impressed with the sights. I think they did a good job. These are tritium-filled night sights with a white ring around them. And the main thing I like about these is that they're not gigantic sights. It's very easy to pick up your actual target down range, and these are not completely covering your target, which we have had issues with like SIG, where they put these gigantic billboard sights on the back of them. And it's hard to see what you're shooting at because all you see is your sights. So I think they did a good job on this. I definitely think when we were backing up and doing long distance shots, we had some other guns that we were shooting that day, and you could definitely tell this was an easier gun to shoot long range because you could pick up your target down range. Your sights were taking up the whole thing. So I think they did a great job on the sights.
Yeah, and I'm always glad to see a company put night sights on a pistol.
Yeah.
Just because you can use it for multiple different applications. It's not just to plink with.
Yeah.
So good job on that. Moving on to the serrations. So they actually have good serrations, but you want to be careful with the front ones, because if this barrel starts getting a little hot, you want to make sure you arch your fingers a good bit so you don't burn yourself, or just run it from the rear, because just if you're not thinking about it and you're just used to muscle memory doing that from the front, you might burn your hand a little bit. But
or a lot.
Yeah, or a lot.
If you shoot like we do, you'll burn your hand a lot.
But I will say that this slide is super easy to pull back. So for someone that doesn't have as much grip strength or something like that, especially once you go ahead and pull back that hammer, this gun is super easy to actually rack. And, you could actually air rack it if you try hard enough. So pretty neat on that. And, of course, this one does have a threaded barrel. So we did put a little micro compensator on there, which is really cool, especially for full-size guns. I do like having a threaded barrel personally, just because it gives you that option of putting different attachments on there, whether it be a suppressor, a compensator, whatever it might be.
And if any of you guys know of other comps, more full-size comps that they make for this gun, when I first got it, I was looking out there for them, and I didn't really see any great options. But if you guys know of any good ones, let me know, because I would like to try more of a full-size comp. Because if you put a comp on this gun, a full size comp, I guarantee you this thing would be one of the more like flattest shooting guns you'd have, because it already shoots super flat. But like Joshua said, I think they did an excellent job on the serrations. There's a ton of serrations on the front side, and they're nice and sharp. You know, it gives you a ton of grip. And I've always been impressed with how Beretta has done on their actual slides being so smooth.
Yeah.
It's like you said, not all guns can air rack, and
We sure tried on all of them.
You can try all of them, but you may look like a fool when you're sitting there, you know, going crazy trying to get it air rack. But this gun is just super smooth, and I like to see a gun that is very smooth on the slide itself. It just means that you're not going to have any issues with hot spots or anything wearing that's not supposed to be wearing. This gun is optic cut, so you have the option to get a optic plate and put you an optic on here. The only thing that I've seen with the actual Beretta M9A4s is your optic is sitting pretty high up on the gun. Now I know Langdon Tactical does some Beretta 92s where they found a way to actually sit it on the slide, so it sits a little lower. So you know, that would be cool to look at. But as of right now, we haven't put an optic on here just because I didn't really feel a need to. I like the way it shoots with just the iron sights. But moving on to the actual finish, the finish has held up very well on this gun. I was a little worried about it because your barrel is exposed. I don't like to see things wearing, and unfortunately, when you start getting into like Cerakotes and stuff like that, they just don't seem to hold up as good as other coatings. But this gun's done a good job. We have a ton of rounds to this thing, and it's always done a good job with that finish not wearing off, which I like to see.
Yep.
But tell them about the actual your slide stop slide release and the safety. And
yeah, so the slide stop slide release is actually pretty easy to use. You can reach it with your thumb, which you can't say about 1911s typically. You have to get those like extended ones, the Wilson Combats. But this one you can actually easily reach with your thumb. You don't have to use that other support hand thumb. Now the safety or the decocker, it's got a learning curve to it. So you don't want to whack your thumb. So if you kind of have your thumb up here, it's going to come back as the slide is recoiling and smack your thumb.
And
so
it hurts.
So you just want to make sure you throw that thumb way over, and sometimes it'll just get you just a little bit, and it'll remind you, hey, move your thumb. But
yeah, and I think we have seen, is it Wilson Combat that makes some flush fitting safety selectors? So that may be something that we choose to do on this gun to keep our thumbs intact.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it works very well when you actually go to engage it. There's plenty of meat to actually push down on it.
Yeah.
And it's, pretty smooth. And but overall, just the little controls like that, they're easy to reach with your thumb. You just got to be careful that it doesn't come back and smack you.
Yeah. And then we'll move on to the grip itself. I think the grip is one of the main things that they changed about this gun, which has made it so good. Now, you do get two different types of side panels, one being a complete wraparound sleeve, I guess, if you want to call it. So you take your grips off, and it would give it that original Beretta 92 grip angle. Where this one is giving you more of a 1911 style grip angle, which I like much prefer. Yeah. I really like the way this gun feels with the standard grips on there. So you do have some checkering on the back as well as the front strap, and then the grip panels themselves. I actually really liked. When I first got it, I thought just the feel and sound of it was not. It just felt cheap. But it turned out to be very sticky in a good way, keeping the gun from moving around your hand. So I really liked what they did there. The only gripe I really have about this gun was the mag release. When we first got it, it was real sticky. It just wouldn't drop the mag very easily.
And I don't think the mags fall out very easy.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a little strange. They do now, but I think it was because it's plastic, and part of it was just sticking, so it was real hard to push it. And like I said, now it's not too bad, but it was an issue when we first got it. It was just kind of a pain trying to get that mag out of there. But I think they've done an excellent job on the grip itself.
Yeah, the grip, it feels so different than any other handgun. Yeah. When you pick it up, like if you had your eyes closed and you just grabbed this grip, you'd know that this was a Beretta.
Yeah.
So when I first picked it up, I'm like, okay, this feels a little odd. Feels a little different. But then when you're actually shooting it, like he said, having that more 1911 angle, it just points so naturally. It really does, and it shoots great for a full size. Yeah, I mean the recoil on it is super low. It's actually got a pretty low bore axis, so you get a pretty high grip on it, and then the barrel's just right above, so the recoil is almost nothing.
Yeah.
And that's before we ever even put a compensator on there. Of course, this helps out a little bit as well, but this is just a smooth shooting gun.
Yeah.
But I guess moving on to the trigger.
The best part.
This trigger surprised me. It is one of the best double action triggers we have ever shot.
Yeah.
To be fair. And I didn't expect that. I didn't think that was going to be from a Beretta. But, I mean, the trigger pull, there's a little bit of take up, a fine wall, and it breaks at a really low pound. And then, of course, the double action is so smooth.
One of the smoothest double action triggers that I've felt.
It's
without
phenomenal.
having any extra work done to it. I mean, this is a stock gun that the trigger is just phenomenal. I mean, they've done an excellent job.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, Joshua, so we both agreed that, and we would talk about it in between shooting because like I said, we had some other guns out there that we were shooting back and forth with this gun. It's kind of awkward. It takes some time to get used to shooting this gun. It shoots great once you've been shooting it for a few minutes and you get used to it, but it's somewhat awkward because how far back the trigger comes when you're actually when it comes to braking. So your trigger finger's way back here, and then it finally breaks. But then the reset, you probably didn't see my finger move. It's one of the shortest resets, other than a 1911, that I've seen. I mean, it's almost to the point where while you're shooting, you don't even realize that your finger's moving to reset the trigger. Yeah. And that's one thing that's also a negative on the trigger is that the reset is not super defined by any means. You really don't notice it resetting. You don't feel it. You don't hear it. It just happens. But it's not a super huge issue with this gun because the reset is so short that you just get used to it and it doesn't really bother you. It still shoots great. Right. So it's kind of a give and take. If you're going to have a quiet and not very tactile reset, then you better make sure it's short. Right. That way it's not becoming an issue.
Right. Yep. So, Connor, let me ask you this. Who would you recommend this firearm to? Or would you recommend it?
So, I'm just going to put this out there real quick. I've never been a Beretta 92, 92X, M9A3, M9A4. I've always thought they were ugly, unfortunately. But I do think they did a good job cutting this little back section off, giving you a 1911 grip angle. So I really think this could be one of the better duty guns out there. I love the shorter. Now, we haven't shot the longer slide version, but this gun specifically, I think would make for probably one of the best, duty belt guns that you could get. The trigger's phenomenal. You've got the single double action option. So if you want to go ahead and put chamber one, decock it, put it in your belt, the first trigger pull is going to be so smooth, and then you're back to single action. So I've always preferred double action guns because of that, especially for carry, because I don't want to shoot my junk off or anything like that when I'm holstering. But I think this is pretty much anybody that's looking for a good duty gun or something to venture out on. If you're used to Glocks and you're used to CZ striker fired or anything striker fired, this would be a good option for you to change it up a little bit. I think it's good for people to learn how to shoot all different types of guns because that's going to help you in the end shooting any of your guns, because we actually talked about it. This would be a good gun to shoot for a long period of time and then go and shoot your Glock, because it is going to make you better because it's so different than what you're typically shooting. So I would recommend this gun. We've had no malfunctions with it. I also think in the research we did, people really like running these with cans on them because they do run well. So that's something that would be cool to test in the future. Yeah. But I think it's just a good option for anybody looking for more of a full size, maybe a bedside gun, a duty belt gun, something that they're wanting to kind of run and gun with. And I bet if you put a comp on this Joker and you wanted to do some
comp on there.
Well, a real comp, not this little baby thing. But if you really wanted to set this thing up nice, it'd be a wonderful, well-shooting gun for you. So,
yeah.
What about you? What do you think?
Well, I think you're pretty much right on that. I think our opinions are about the same. This is a great pistol for like a duty gun.
Yeah.
I would not mind one bit putting this on my duty belt and running it. It's got, the rail for a light if you want to put that on there. The reliability is there. The ease of shoot and repeatability on it, just being able to pick it up and just be able to shoot it really well.
Yep.
It's all there. And I can say that this is actually Connor's gun. Before he bought it, I had no interest in these. They looked, they're a very old design. They keep coming out with different versions of it, but it just didn't seem exciting to me. Like you said, they're kind of an ugly look, and I know we've learned to like it, but before we owned one, we did kind of talk about, what's the point of those? They're so old, they don't look very well. But after shooting it, it like really impressed me to the point where I was like, maybe I want one too.
Yeah, the gun is Joshua. It's ugly. You don't really think you're gonna like it, but once you get to know it, it's alright. I mean, it's pretty good. But I think it's a
Man.
I think it's a pretty good gun. The only thing again that I want to say is not the best is the safety selector.
Yeah.
Beretta has now come out with the frame mounted safeties, which I kind of wish now I would have waited till that came out because I
Yeah.
would have just bought that.
Man, I wish you would have gotten the.
Yeah, I know. Again, I feel somewhat neutered when I started putting these in there, and they're 15 rounds and a full size gun.
What a waste, man!
I
What
know.
a waste. But I mean, it's a great firearm, and again, as you mentioned, like a truck gun or bedside gun,
Yeah.
another great option. But I wouldn't say that this would be my go-to for concealed carry.
No, no. Well, guys, that's the information and the review we have on the Beretta M9A4. If you have any questions or anything about the gun or anything like that, just let us know down in the comments section. If you guys have any future content that you would like to see us do a review on, let us know. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and like and share, and we'll catch you next time.